To South Africa now, where Public Works Minister Thulas Nxesi has undertaken to rid his department of corruption and collusion. This follows revelations that the department has lost many millions of rands, as illustrated in 40 cases probed by the Special Investigating Unit. Minister Nxesi now joins us in the studio to discuss how he plans to rebuild the department. Minister, thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak with us here on Beyond Markets. The big question, of course, is just how deep is the rot in the Department of Public Works, and can you actually initiate a turnaround in the department and still keep going? We've seen a number of very high-profile officials being fingered, being prosecuted, some dismissed. But give us just the scale of the corruption and whether you can, in fact, turn the ship around.
The fact that the SIU, the Special Investigation Unit, has investigated about 22 cases. And in those 22 cases, we have come up with these high-profile cases. It is an indication that there might be a lot, because as we investigate others, we stumble on further issues which are coming up, and we start saying, is there something else which we have to look at? So it is clear that it is rooted in, but it's clear that it's a question of collusion and the corruption which is between some few officials working with, I would say, syndicates in the construction industry. It's not for the first time we hear about this. Remember, as we speak now, the Competition Commission is investigating the collusion in terms of pricing by the big companies in a run-up to the building of the stadiums in 2010. So it's clear that there's something wrong in the construction industry.
We're looking here at figures. You're saying that preliminary investigations has shown that the initial budget for the contract to renovate your own building in Pretoria in 2009 was at 59 million. However, when the project was completed in August 2011, the cost had skyrocketed to 325 million. That's a massive jump. How is it possible for something to be priced at a particular figure and cost, and then costs skyrocket like this without, warning systems going off in the department? Is that because procurement systems are that deeply flawed, or because, there's no controls at all?
It's a combination of factors. First, it's variation orders, it's consultancy fees. When those variation orders, nobody from the side of the department is able to interrogate them, whether they are needed, whether they are real. And all that goes back to, do you have the right professionals? Because the work of an engineering company would need architects, quantity surveyors, engineers, other engineers to interrogate it. But it cannot be done by people who are not qualified. We do not have those people there in the department. They were there, they were allowed to leave. So it's a question of the type of the personnel which you have, but also it's about the systems, it's about controls, supply chain. In fact, that is the biggest weak link of the department. Now,
when the budget speech was being made by the finance minister last week, the minister announced the appointment of a procurement officer at a national level in order to beat back corruption. How is your department going to interface with that procurement officer? Because you've been receiving a lot of hands-on support from the Treasury, from the Revenue Service, from the Auditor General. Just take us through how it's envisaged, particularly from your department, that it will relate to this national procurement officer.
We have already interacted with the Treasury a lot on this one. First of all, what we have done was to create a separate branch on the supply chain. The Treasury is helping us in relation to that. And that branch will be working with the Treasury in terms of the guidance. We need to put the right personnel, not a person, a number of persons who have the necessary skills. We are also putting a separate branch on risk management. And we are working with SARS in terms of this one. trying to put even our own internal investigating unit, like they had in housing at some stage. And these are some of the ideas which the DG, the new DG, is proposing. But also we're strengthening the internal audit. These are the areas where we will be working with the Treasury, so that we strengthen, we put the right systems, and we put proper controls. We've already appointed, by the way, a CFO. We've already appointed another one who's working as a deputy to look at the property, a chartered accountant. And these are the people we are calling for that we should apply. And Treasury has also given us some more money, not just to appoint the technical professionals, but also to appoint the experts in the property unit, property lawyers unit, property economists,
now,
and so on.
The last time when I spoke with you on political exchange, Minister, you were saying that you are in the process of looking at a proper registry of assets, because there was simply no way of telling which properties government own, how much they cost. You also said that in some provinces, buildings had miraculously gone from being state-owned to ending up in private hands, and that, you know, buildings essentially just went missing off your register. What progress has been made in terms of the register of assets?
Some progress has been made. We have appointed a service provider. I know that some other people are complaining that we are relying on the consultants, but we're saying if you need some job to be done by people who are highly skilled in the finances, like chartered accountants, you can't just allow financial clerks to do that work. In the meantime, we're using those people, we're insourcing whilst we're building the capacity, and they are doing that work in terms of the asset register. Thus far, on the desktop, we've been able to reconcile what our properties are belonging to us, those belonging to the provinces. There's also a chunk which belongs to the local government. But what is surprising, about 10,000 properties belong nowhere. And this is what...
So they're not accounted for in terms of who owns them?
This is what we're trying to verify together with the provinces. That is why now I've been visiting all the MECs with my team. We're trying to reconcile the whole issue. And MECs, I can tell you, they are cooperating, because you'll never have a national register until all the MECs are on board. You use the same system. We've put special teams in public works in the provinces. Under those MECs, they are working with this particular national team. We've entered now a second stage. The second stage of this process is to look at what is in our register vis-a-vis what is there physically, the physical verification. That is why we've gone even to employ about 60 BCom graduates who are working, from those who are unemployed, who are working together with this particular company. We're doing physical verification. Okay.
Minister, now, of course, you have been the man in the front explaining the skyrocketing costs relating to the security, build at the private residence of President Jacob Zuma in Nkandla. And of course, you've had to deal with a lot of criticism that the entire matter is shrouded in secrecy because of the National Key Points Act. Take us through what progress has been made in terms of getting to the root of whether those are projected costs, actual costs, what has been paid, and whether there's in fact been the kind of collusion that we've seen here. I mean, if in your own building 59 million can jump to 325 million, I mean, it's hardly a surprise that we see the kind of figures that we have seen in the case of Nkandla.
In fact, it confirms what we said, that it was not just about Nkandla. Wherever we're involved in major projects, we seated with these particular problems. And I can tell you about Nkandla, we made an announcement that we had an internal task team, and that task team did the work. But that task team, because it's internally, didn't have the forensic skills. We said, after identifying that there were some irregularities, we want to subject that to further scrutiny by the SIU, which might have these forensic skills. And as a result, we've met with the SIU to talk about the terms of reference of the further investigations. And we leave it there. Once we talk to them, it's going to be a matter for them. Once they are done, they will come back to you. But remember, the there's also the public protector who's investigating this matter, and we have indicated that we're ready to cooperate with the public protector on this matter.
A final question, Minister. You are a former trade unionist. You have people in the department that are accused of wrongdoing. Almost all of them are unionized, including your senior management. Have you been able to engage the unions on assisting you in beating back corruption, or is it possible for people who've been fingered in corruption to hide behind being in a union?
We're meeting with all the unions. All the unions are cooperating. There might be a few individuals who are running into the newspapers. And the unions have bought in terms of our turnaround strategy, but we prefer to call it the rebuilding, the reconstruction of that department. What we can say, the rebuilding of public works is going to be a process, but it's not going to be a single event. Only the guilty, those who have benefited illicitly, have something to fear about.